Alright, welcome back everyone. Today we have 1993 Michael Jordan was at his most dangerous. Okay, now obviously 1993, his first three-peat, I think that was the year where, he averaged the most points in an NBA Finals series, in the history of the NBA, 41 points per game averager during the finals. Hey, elite. But damn, bro, 1993 Jordan, as we all know, this is peak confidence, peak skill, just no mental weakness at all, bro. This is right before his first retirement too, So this might be the most locked in version of him we ever saw, We're talking about a guy who came off back-to-back championships and still getting better. That's dangerous, man. That's Mike, So obviously, we're expecting nothing but control of the game, just scoring, passing, defending, everything, whatever. If there was
1993, Michael Jordan's eyes had changed.
Like a debate for the most perfect basketball player ever, that's in a conversation, but
By
whatever.
1993, Michael Jordan's eyes had changed. The joy that once danced in them during his earlier championships had hardened into something darker. He was still the hunter, but now he knew what it felt like to be hunted. Every night, every game, every moment. He was tired. Tired of the media, tired of the pressure, and tired of being everyone's target. But instead of breaking, he became something else entirely. Stronger, angrier, and more dangerous than the NBA had ever seen. This is the story of Jordan's most lethal season, when exhaustion, controversy, and tragedy transformed him into basketball's ultimate killer.
Basketball's ultimate killer. Okay.
If there's one disadvantage to winning back-to-back championships in any sport, it's the toll it takes over time. After logging 99 intense games in 1991 and another 104 in 1992, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen didn't get much of a break. Instead, they jetted off to Barcelona to suit up for the iconic Dream Team, arguably the greatest Olympic basketball squad ever assembled. But while the world celebrated in Barcelona, something was shifting inside Jordan. The grind was becoming exactly that, a grind. The Bulls had logged 203 games in 2 years. As Pat Riley, who knew something about dynasties from his Laker days, warned, it's the championship that kills the champion.
Yeah.
The hunger fades, personal agendas emerge, and somewhere between gold medal celebrations and photo ops in Spain, that hunger began to dim in Chicago. By the time the 92-93 season tipped off, Jordan was eyeing something historic, a third straight title. Only two teams had ever pulled it off, the Minneapolis Lakers of the 1950s and the Boston Celtics of the 1960s. No team had three-peated in the modern NBA. Legacy was at stake, but when the Bulls regrouped that fall, it was obvious. The wear and tear was setting in.
The wear and tear.
Watch Jordan
Different
in
kind of
1993 closely. There were less of the acrobatic drives of 1991, replaced by more methodical post-ups. He'd added 15 pounds of muscle, not to fly higher, but to punish smaller guards down low. This wasn't evolution by choice, it was survival. The 93 Bulls were still very good.
Yeah, because you can't keep crashing the paint though when you're getting a little older,
higher, but to punish
So
smaller
those muscles
guards down
definitely
low.
worked in his
This wasn't
advantage.
Evolution by choice, it was survival. The 93 Bulls were still very good, but they weren't the same dominant force. By season's end, they had dropped to second in the East behind the surging New York Knicks and third overall behind Charles Barkley's Phoenix Suns. Most pundits saw both teams as real threats to Chicago's crown. Sports Illustrated even predicted a Knicks-Suns finals. The Bulls were done, they said. What those critics missed were the Bulls' intangibles. That late-game grit, that unshakable confidence that had carried them through countless tight moments before. And Jordan, he was becoming something more terrifying than ever. Despite averaging 32.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, plus finishing second in Defensive Player of the Year voting, Jordan's MVP streak came to an end. The award went to Charles Barkley, who had led Phoenix to a league-best 62-20 record. MJ would have something to say about that, but first, he'd had to navigate a minefield that went far beyond basketball.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What's that?
Dude, I don't care about that, bro.
Base 44.
Guys.
Get out of there. Let me watch greatness.
The whispers had been building all season. Stories of Jordan's late-night gambling sessions, six-figure golf bets, and connections to unsavory characters began surfacing in the media. It wasn't just casual betting anymore. Reports linked him to $1.25 million gambling debts. The Atlantic City trip before Game 2 against the Knicks became a media firestorm. Here was Jordan, supposedly preparing for the biggest game of the year, spotted at a casino until the early hours of the morning. Commissioner David Stern called him in for meetings. The media smelled blood. For the first time, Jordan's carefully crafted image, the smiling pitchman from the commercials, Be Like Mike, was cracking. I have a competition problem, Jordan would later admit, trying to reframe his gambling as just another expression of his competitive fire. But the scrutiny was relentless. Every bet became a headline. Every casino sighting became a scandal. The NBA was in the middle of a changing of the guard. Magic Johnson had retired in 1991 after revealing he was HIV positive. Larry Bird, plagued by chronic back pain, quietly walked away in 1992. Suddenly, the full weight of carrying the league fell on Michael. At that time, Michael wasn't enjoying himself anymore. Magic Johnson would later reflect. See what happened? Larry Bird and I left, and we left him. He's the one sitting there. Now it's just him. The joy that once fueled him was fading, buried
Just
under
him.
pressure and constant scrutiny, and that made him dangerous in ways the league had never seen. Everyone's glad the playoffs are here, Jordan told reporters, his jaw tight with something between exhaustion and determination. This is where the season is really made. Now is when the real fun begins. The regular season had been a grind, but when April arrived, and with it the familiar electricity of the postseason, something awakened in Jordan. That dormant fire didn't just flicker back to life, it exploded.
Exploded, huh?
The Bulls wasted no time silencing critics once the Eastern Conference playoffs began. In the first round, they made quick work of the Atlanta Hawks. Dominic Wilkins was still in peak human highlight reel form.
The human
averaging
highlight reel
29.9
form.
points per game that season, but he didn't have much help. Chicago swept the Hawks with ruthless efficiency in just 3 games. Jordan averaged 34.3 points, but it was how he scored that sent chills through the league. Methodical, calculated, no wasted motion. Next up, a familiar foe.
That's
Cleveland
literally
Cavaliers.
it with Jordan. Like, that's literally it when it comes to the mentality and killer instinct. You know, this is where he was. This was definitely the most dangerous part of his game. You know, like this is where it comes in. You know, like this dude was actively hunting mismatches every possession, bro. Like, smells weakness, it's over. Whatever.
And felt silent every time Jordan touched the ball. Cue the painful memories for Cav fans, especially the shot over Craig Elo in '89. But Cleveland thought they had finally solved their Michael Jordan problem. They'd signed Gerald Wilkins, brought in for one specific reason: to prove his self-proclaimed Jordan stopper moniker was legit. And early on, it seemed to work. With Wilkins pestering MJ all over the floor, the Cavs had won 3 of 5 regular season matchups against Chicago, but Game 1 of their playoff series told a different story. Jordan dropped 43 points on 16 for 30 shooting, treating Wilkins like a traffic cone. The Jordan stopper
Traffic
had a tough
cone.
time tonight, MJ said post-game, that dangerous smirk creeping across his face. He's going to be ready to come back the next game, but so am I. This was different. This was the Bulls locked in. This was Jordan at his most lethal. When Cleveland tried to avoid a sweep in Game 4, Jordan reached back into his bag of nightmares. With the game tied at 101, Jordan missed a mid-range jumper that could have sealed it. Craig Elo, yes, Craig Elo, missed on the other end, giving Chicago one more shot. 18.5 seconds left, ball in hand, full court to go. The Cavaliers knew what was coming. Everyone in the building knew. Jordan fought through Wilkins' desperate off-ball pressure, caught the ball with 10 seconds left, made his move to the right elbow, elevated over his supposed stopper and another Cavalier trying to double, and hit the game winner to send Chicago to the Eastern Conference Finals. The shot, part 2, another dagger in Cleveland's heart.
Damn, you cannot guard that, man. Contest doesn't matter.
Next came the real
Shot
test.
selection, you know, looks
92,
tough, but
93 New
hey,
York
for him
Knicks
it's
were built
efficient.
to dethrone Jordan. One of only 2 60-win teams that year, They had the league's best defense, giving up just 95.4 points per game. Pat Riley had constructed a team of bruisers specifically designed to punish Jordan every time he touched the ball, a strategy borrowed from the rivals, the bad boy Pistons. Madison Square Garden was a madhouse for Game 1. The Knicks took it convincingly, with their suffocating defense holding Jordan to 10 of 27 shooting. Then came the Atlantic City incident. Hours before Game 2, Jordan was spotted at a casino, gambling into the early morning hours. The media went into overdrive. Here was proof, they said, that Jordan's gambling was out of control, that he wasn't taking the Knicks seriously. The controversy seemed to affect him. In Game 2, the Knicks won again, capped by John Stark's thunder over multiple Bulls defenders. A moment that had New York thinking this was finally their year. The Bulls were down 0-2, and Jordan looked vulnerable. Back in Chicago for Game 3, Jordan shot just 3 of 18. The headlines wrote themselves: the gambling, the losses, the poor shooting. But here's what made 1993 Jordan different and dangerous. The Bulls still crushed the Knicks, 103-88. When we went to Chicago for Game 3, Jordan shot 3 for 18, but we were ill-prepared to win that game. Former Knicks assistant Jeff Van Gundy would later admit, they beat us by 20. That was our chance. If we'd been right and ready, we might have gone up 3-0. Jordan's response to his poor performance was vintage 1993. Ruthless, calculated annihilation. In Game 4, with his back against the wall and the media circling like vultures, he erupted for 54 points in a 105-95 win. He didn't just beat them, he demoralized them. We exhaled instead of
getting close like this
we had in the first 2 games, Patrick Ewing reflected. In Game 4, he woke up, and even though we played a much better game, we just didn't have enough. The Bulls took the next 2 and sent the Knicks home. That New York Knicks team might have been one of the best ever built, but they had the misfortune of running into Michael Jordan at his most dangerous, when he had something to prove.
Barkley's challenge. Okay, Charles Barkley, no match for MJ.
In the East, it was waiting in June. An MVP, a 62-win juggernaut, a city starving for a title. The Phoenix Suns believed this was their year. Charles Barkley had waited 7 years for this moment.
They've never had a title in franchise history, right?
Collect rings.
The Suns.
Now, with home court advantage and an MVP trophy, Chuck thought the basketball gods had finally tilted the scales. When I got to Phoenix, I told those guys the first day, I said, guys, we're going to be in the finals. We're going to play that motherfucker in Chicago, Barkley recalled. I said, I'm sick of people telling me that he's better than me. I just didn't have no help in Philly. For the first time in 3 years, Jordan's Bulls didn't have home court advantage in the finals. Games 1 and 2 would be in the desert heat of Phoenix. Phil Jackson hoped Chicago would steal one on the road. Jordan wanted both.
Bro, I want to see greatness, bro. Get out of there with these ads.
Phoenix's America West Arena was deafening for Game 1. Over 19,000 fans, sensing destiny, created a wall of sound that made Bulls players' ears ring during timeouts. But Jordan had entered the dangerous zone, where noise became fuel. In Game 1, the Bulls' strategy was surgical. Don't double Barkley unless he was in the paint. Let him work for everything. The gamble worked. Sir Charles struggled mightily, going just 9 for 25. Jordan had only 17 points through 3 quarters when the Suns launched a late comeback, trimming the lead to 88-85. But in the final 4.5 minutes, the most dangerous version of Jordan emerged. He scored 14 points down the stretch, each basket more cold-blooded than the last.
Wow.
Final line, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, and forced 5 turnovers. Bulls win 100-92.
That's crazy. This is what makes him dangerous, bro. He can end a game in 2-3 minutes, bro. Wow.
It was the Jordan-Barkley duel everyone wanted. Both stars dropped 42 points, but Jordan added 12 rebounds and 9 assists.
Wow.
More importantly, he made Barkley work for every point, using his added bulk to battle in the post. Bulls win again, 111-108. It looked like Chicago might cruise to a 3rd straight title. Then came Game 3, one of the greatest overtime battles in finals history.
Triple overtime madness! Oh my god, we all remember this game.
The United Center was electric, expecting a coronation. Instead, they got a wall. The Suns led 99-88. With 7 minutes 30 left in regulation, the Bulls looked exhausted, particularly Jordan, who had played virtually every minute.
This game was
but
crazy.
This was 1993 Jordan.
Jordan had like 45 points.
With a 15-4 run to force overtime. Then another, then another. In triple overtime, bodies were scattered across the court like a battlefield. Players cramped, coaches ran out of timeouts. Jordan had taken 43 shots. Kevin Johnson, all 6'1" of him, had played 62 minutes.
Damn!
Speed to harass Jordan while dropping 25 points. Suns coach Paul Westphal fought off flashbacks. He was on the floor as a player during the previous triple overtime finals game in 1976 when Boston beat Phoenix 128-126. This time, Barkley made sure
Phoenix stayed getting whooped.
And Dan Marley buried back-to-back threes as the Suns survived 129-121. Jordan finished with 44 points in 55 minutes, but for once, even his dangerous late-game execution wasn't enough.
Damn. The closing act, it's time for it.
MJ bounced back in Game 4 with a masterpiece. 55 points on 21 of 37 shooting. It was the most points in a finals game since Elgin Baylor in 1962. The Bulls took a 3-1 series lead, but the Suns weren't done. In Game 5, despite Jordan's 41 points, Chicago fell 108-98, sending the series back to Phoenix. I believe it's our destiny to win a world championship, Barkley said after that game. We didn't care we were down 3-1. God wants us to win a championship. I talked to him the other night.
The Paxson moment, the shot.
Game
Y'all remember that one?
Phoenix, June
Paxson
20,
for three.
1993. The Suns led 98-94 with under a minute left. The home crowd could taste it. But championship teams, dangerous teams, find a way. Jordan grabbed a defensive rebound and went coast to coast for a layup. 98-96. On the next possession, Chicago's defense forced Dan Marley into a desperation heave as the shot clock expired. With 14.1 seconds left, the Bulls had the ball.
Bruh, what the
followed
fuck?
was poetry. Jordan passed out of the double team to Pippen, who drove and found Horace Grant. Grant, 0 for 5 in the game, and gun-shy, made the extra pass to John Paxson beyond the arc. Swish.
Bro, it's crazy because like the playmaking is actually an underrated part of Jordan's game, bro. Like he's reading defense like a point guard, not forcing shots, making the right play. Whatever. People don't talk about this enough when it comes to Jordan.
99-98. Once Pax got the ball, I knew it was over, Jordan said. Phoenix had one last chance, but Grant blocked Kevin Johnson's drive, sealing Chicago's three-peat.
Yes, go, Jordan.
Jordan averaged 41 points in the 1993 finals, a record that still stands. He won his third straight finals MVP, cementing his place.
Even with the scoring inflation of today's game, that still stands. Wow.
Jordan averaged 41 points in the 1993 finals, a record that still stands. He won his third straight finals MVP, cementing his place among the all-time greats. But the celebration felt different this time, heavier. Even Barkley was in awe. I thought God.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I think this is when it was official to the entire world that he was the greatest player of all time. Even though a lot of people were already calling him the GOAT before he even had any rings. But whatever. They did the same thing with LeBron too. But yeah.
Wanted me to win the finals, but I didn't realize God was wearing number 23 for the Bulls. After clinching his third title, Jordan's exhaustion was visible. Winning this championship is harder than anything I've done before in basketball. With all the ups and downs that I've gone through this season, and the mental approach that I've had to take into each game, he told reporters there were no thoughts of walking away. My love for basketball is still very strong. That was June 20, 1993.
Yeah.
On July 23, Jordan's world shattered. His father, James Jordan, who Michael called his best friend, was murdered at a roadside rest stop in North Carolina. James had been more than Michael's father. He was his anchor, the man who taught him to stick out his tongue while concentrating, who stayed up late talking baseball and life after games. When police found his body, they found Michael's 1993 All-Star ring on his finger. The grief was suffocating. Jordan wouldn't speak publicly for weeks, and when he finally did, his voice cracked. He saw my last championship. I'm grateful for that. On October 6, 1993, Michael Jordan shocked the world by retiring from basketball. The gambling controversy.
Retired from basketball, man. He retired with 3 championships, 3 Finals MVPs, 3 regular season MVPs, like 7 scoring titles, a Defensive Player of the Year award. It's like, damn, bro, that resume is crazy, man. Like, we still don't even have people like outside of LeBron. Like, we don't have nobody in today's NBA with a resume like that, man. Like, damn.
The exhaustion, the loss of his father. It was all too much. I have reached the pinnacle of my career, he said. I just feel I don't have anything else to prove.
Yeah. The most dangerous Jordan.
1993 wasn't Jordan at his most athletic or even his happiest. It was Jordan at his most dangerous. A player who had learned that greatness isn't about feeling great, it's about delivering when you feel nothing at all. He scored 41 points per game in the finals while battling tendonitis in both knees, his ankles and his wrist. He carried the weight of an entire league on his shoulders after Magic and Bird left. He fought through gambling scandals that threatened to destroy his legacy, and after his father's death, he battled through grief that would have broken most people. This was the Jordan who proved that when everything is falling apart, a true champion doesn't just survive, he dominates. 3 months after the greatest scoring performance in finals history, he walked away from basketball. But first, he made sure everyone knew who owned it. The 1993 Michael Jordan wasn't just dangerous because what he could do on the court, he was dangerous because he showed the world what it really costs to be the greatest and that he was willing to pay it every single night. If you enjoyed this video and want to see...
Damn, bro. 1993 Michael Jordan. Wasn't just great. It's complete. No weakness. No hesitation. Just total control of the game, man. That's really what most dangerous really means, you know? Not just scoring, but, dictating everything, you know? If you have to build a perfect player, he's definitely in a conversation. He's as close as it gets. This wasn't just dominance. This was mastery. Whatever. Damn, but 1993 Jordan, man. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think down there in the comments about that one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hold on. Shit. We did have 2, webcams, whatever. How you guys like it? Maybe we should do more of these, whatever. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.